Coming up in this week's episode of Punt It Long, money takes over sense in modern day football, a World Cup taking place in the winter, a man from Aberdeen is featured on this week's Bellend, and the usual chat about Dunfermline Athletic Football Club. Enjoy! Now, my main point, just to kind of clarify before I start talking with this one, is that when clubs look at players that do really well for a season or so, and then they think, well, we'll just go and spend, 30, 40, 50 million due to the market and football these days. That's kind of the prices that you expect them to pay for these type of players, even if it is just doing well for one season. You've seen that with many players over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. But they do that and then go and spend a lot of money on the player without much thought being put into how much the player will actually fit into that specific club's system. Now, I'm not obviously saying that I know for a fact that the clubs haven't really put any thought into it, but it seems like once the player has reached the club and obviously is then a player for that club and it doesn't work out, it seems like there hasn't really been much thought put into how that specific player and their abilities is going to be able to be transferred into the team that they then go and join. For example, the players that I'm going to mention that didn't exactly work out very well for them at the clubs that they went to. Of course, on the other flip side of this, there's many examples where players have done extremely well after having a good season. Case in point, players like Neymar and stuff like that. But in my opinion, the ones that don't exactly perform really well at their next club, it kind of shows a light on how money just is an object now, and it's really not even considered, these kind of transfer fees, on how much money it actually is. People just kind of throw their money about without much thought going into it. As I said, there's been many players in the past who have been kind of fallen short of the kind of expectations after their very good season at whatever club they were at previously. A kind of recent example of this is Tiamuni Bakayoko. Obviously had a very good season at Monaco, and then he made a £50 million move to Chelsea. Had one season, maybe just over a season, I think it was only one season at Chelsea, and then moved on to, well, now he's on loan at AC Milan, and it's clearly not exactly worked out. Wasted time, wasted money, and very little input as a Chelsea player overall. And there was always a kind of feeling with Chelsea fans that, oh, he'll eventually come good, or, oh, if he played well one game, then is this the time where we actually see the real Bakayoko come out and play to his full potential? And then it just kind of eventually dwindled back into the same kind of bang average performances, and it all comes down to the fact that huge investment was made, not really considering how quickly he'd be able to adapt to the Premier League down in England, and how much that money would actually be invested back in for a future proposition in terms of selling them on or stuff like that. So that's the kind of example I'm talking about. I'm going to speak about another example as well, which is actually why I thought about this point overall. So I was watching the Champions League last night, and I was actually watching, for a part of it anyway, I was watching Lyon versus Manchester City. And of course, a main talking point with Lyon is Memphis Depay and how well he's doing in Ligue 1 this season. Ligue 1 especially, of course he does play in Champions League and he does play for Holland, and they're doing very well as well. But in terms of his input in the French League so far this season, he's done very well over there, and there's no doubt that if a player is playing really well, then it does attract interest from clubs all around the world, and for various different reasons. Obviously every club has a different manager, every club has a different ethos, and no doubt Memphis Depay would fit into one of the big European clubs around the world and would fit in just as well as he has at Lyon. But the recent talk has been, should Manchester United take up the clause that's in his contract, because when he left Manchester United and joined Lyon, they had a clause in his contract that they had a cut price buyback, where if they wanted to buy him back from Lyon, then they would get a kind of cut price so that they didn't exactly have to spend the amount of money that they usually would have to. Now, fair dues, that's obviously good businessmanship, or whatever the word is, and obviously it means that they would be able to get him at a cut rate, and perhaps would be able to get him at his kind of peak time in his career, because this seems to be the best form that he's been in his entire career so far. But as I said before, is that much thought put into the fact that Memphis Depay failed before under Louis van Gaal and briefly under Jose Mourinho, and then obviously fitting into a Jose Mourinho system now, fitting into a Jose Mourinho team. It's not been easy for many Manchester United players, and that's basically been a full squad that he's now been able to not get the best out of overall. Obviously he got the best out of players like Zlatan Ibrahimovic in his kind of brief spell there, but in terms of Memphis Depay, he's been at Manchester United. Do you really need to go back to that and probably underperform again? There's probably more chance of him underperforming now than there is of him being a massive success, because there's a lot of pressure. I mean, you've seen when he joined the last time he got the number 7 shirt, it was branded as this like big money signing, and it just never paid off. And in my opinion, as I said, money is just a bit of an object in modern day football now, and despite the fact that they would be getting a cut price deal for Depay this time around, I just don't see it being a worthwhile cause, and it would be a bit like the Bakayoko situation for me, that wasted money, wasted time, wasted resources when you could be going out and strengthening your team in areas where you actually need strengthening. Obviously for Manchester United that's at the back, on the right wing mainly, and whilst Depay could possibly fit into the right wing slot at Man United, it's highly doubtful. I would think he's probably going to play up front, considering that's where he kind of has been playing for Lyon so far this season. And as I said, in terms of investment for Man United at the moment, I think they should be really looking at other key areas in their team rather than trying to hark back to a player of the past who is doing extremely well just now, but I don't think would fit into their system at all at the current time. At this very moment in 2022, there will be a World Cup taking place, right this very moment, from the 21st of November to the 18th of December. The big top leagues in Europe and beyond will be taking a break, I would assume, from the leagues, especially the Premier League, of course, down in England will be taking a break, and the top 5 European leagues, so La Liga, Serie A, Ligue 1, Premier League as I mentioned, and many other leagues that have a majority of their players involved in World Cup competition. And it will be taking place in Qatar in 2022, and I mean, it's in the winter though. It's a big massive change for football, and it's never been done before, of course, or at least it's not in my knowledge, but as far as I know, all the World Cups so far have been taking place in summer months, and it'll be a very strange kind of predicament to be in, because for us in Scotland, I don't think our leagues will really be affected by it. I think we'll still be playing for the majority of that kind of period. We'll still be playing through the winter months, and it'll be weird to kind of be involved in the summer of that year, where I'm assuming the Premier League will continue. I'm not entirely sure at all. I'm not sure what the kind of schedule is for that season, because of course you would have had the summer break, and then you would have had the World Cup starting in the mid-season, where there's going to be another break, and then what happens to the January transfer window and stuff like that. It's all very confusing to me at the moment. I mainly brought up this point to kind of get your opinions on it and what you actually think about a World Cup taking place in the winter, and what kind of things you think should be in place for it. Do you think that the Premier League should be played in the summer of that year, and then obviously the break in the winter is basically what the summer would be in a normal season? It'll be interesting to see what you think. I'm very kind of confused by it all, if I'm being honest, and I don't know how it'll pan out. I'm sure it'll be fine once it all comes around, but it just feels a bit weird. It feels like it's a bit of a strange one by FIFA, and I don't know why they've really put it through, because at the end of the day the World Cup is a format that has worked for years and years and years, decades, and to change it, obviously it's about innovating and creating new things in football and trying a new kind of environment in a completely different circumstance. But for me, it's a bit too big a change. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it, because as I said, I'm very kind of baffled by it all, and I don't entirely get why it's going ahead. But maybe you have a better opinion on it, and I would love to know that, and obviously I'll reply to every single comment that's there. That time of the week again, we'll do the part of the episode called As with many of these Bellend entries, it comes from kind of viral videos on the World Wide Web, and this week is no different, with this one coming from BBC on the Social or something like that. They basically released a video on their Twitter where an Aberdonian man came out of a pub and was doing a Scottish accent, and let's be honest, I mean, if you've not seen it, of course you can't really have an opinion on it yet. I'm going to show you briefly bits of the video itself. If you haven't, then you can go and have a look for it online, but in my opinion, It's cringe as anything, and you shouldn't allow an Aberdonian person to be involved in trying to bring across a broad Scots accent and trying to bring across to people all over the world and try and give them a feeling of what Scotland's like, because this guy certainly didn't do a good job of it. Roll the clip.
That's our BBC social money through. Come on, let's get absolute hoolit.
Wait. Before it starts, beware of strong language and adult humour. Come on.
The good Scots language is spoke by around 1.5 million of us. Yet there's folk out there who cry it slang and say it's rang, and it shouldn't be on the telly and that. Wheel, I say get it round them. Hard you being an out, for example, we braw Scots words and phrases. Phrases to describe the Vicaroonia.
Get us that bucket, for Christ's sake. It just gives you the book, doesn't it? Folk. Anyway, as usual on Punt, we'll go full circling back to my team, Dunfermline. Seriously, if we don't win this weekend, it just doesn't bear thinking about, man. Just come out and be the better team, pars. Dinny, take the mick. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. Right? We're gonna win this weekend. That's it. I'm saying it right now. 2-0 pars. Goals from Jackson Longridge and Joe Thompson. There you go. Prediction. And that's it for this episode, guys. Cheers for watching. If you did enjoy, please give it a like. Comment down below anything you thought about what I've said, and subscribe for more of this type of content. And until the next video, which will be Pars Roundup on Friday for the Morton game, which we will win 2-0. I'll see you then. Cheers, guys.